Once, children with special needs had few champions. In the 1940s, a tiny group of Baltimore parents began talking. Their idea? To help their children, regardless of disability, pursue their desires and dreams. In 1947, the School of the Chimes opened with 5 students. Chimes was the first school of its kind in Maryland, educating children who had once been considered unteachable. Within just a few years, there were 75 students and a new school building in Mount Washington. Today, Chimes educates, trains, employs, and supports over 17,000 children and adults in the United States and Israel. Chimes' work consistently attracts attention, generosity, and a loyal following.
At Chimes, we push the limits. You take an idea, you nurture it, you feel passionately about it, and you support it. And when you do that, it grows. It grows as Chimes did in response to the changing needs of the people we serve. That's what these parents did, and that's what we do. Chimes has held fast to its basic mission, that each individual has the right and the ability to grow and to enjoy life to the fullest. And our job is to nurture that growth.
Eventually, Chimes was able to help many people with disabilities work and live on their own. Achievements that few, if any, had considered possible decades ago. Curtis Hall became Maryland's first community living option when it opened in 1971, in the center of an upscale Baltimore neighborhood. Clearly, Chimes was serious. People with severe disabilities would have opportunity, not just the promise of opportunity.
It was my first year with Chimes, and I planted a tree when we opened Curtis Hall as the first residents moved in to commemorate the occasion, because it was momentous. It was the first alternative to institutional care in Maryland.
That Japanese maple still reminds visitors and residents alike of Chimes' ever-broadening network and dedication to helping the people they serve to live as they choose.
Curtis Hall was envisioned to be a place where 36 lucky people would have an opportunity to live. And we discovered early on that these individuals all didn't want to live in the same way. Some wish to live with others, some wish to live alone. Our responsibility as a provider of services is to provide them with those alternatives so that they can make informed choices. So Curtis Hall was the catalyst for our acquisition of property and the rental of apartments.
By the mid-70s, Chimes also provided job training and help finding jobs. Joanne Ballard has been part of Chimes since childhood. A Chimes School graduate, Joanne has lived at Curtis Hall, in a group home, in a shared apartment, and now in her own apartment.
I like living alone because I like the peace and quiet. I like to be on my own. I love my apartment. It's nice. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Everything's nice.
Back in the 70s, Randy Johnson also lived in Curtis Hall. Today, Randy owns his own condo and has a job he really likes.
I have a job, got benefits, got the whole works.
Quite an accomplishment for a young man who grew up in foster care and who once had few prospects for living, much less living on his own. And when Randy needs help, Chimes is still, and always will be, just a phone call away.
Make me feel good. You don't have to depend on the state for nothing.
Chimes has worked with Randy to provide him the skills that he would need to live in the community independently.
Ed Feet has been a part of the Chimes family since 1952 and is familiar with virtually every Chimes service.
Oh, I have some good friends, and I work every Tuesday and Wednesdays. And then I gotta go on my day program. It's fun.
Like his father before him, Ed now serves on the Chimes Maryland Board of Directors, helping to shape the future of Chimes. Although many people can articulate their desires and dreams, others at Chimes need help to do so. Henry Clapp and his family have been a part of Chimes since Henry was 7 years old.
And you're happy there?
I'm happy there. But Fred, Bruce, Kenny, Charles, Stephen, Steve, Hamilton.
I'm glad of that, Henry. I really am. And you have cookouts.
I have cookouts.
And you go to the movies sometimes on Saturday.
The movies on Saturday.
Henry has chosen to work on site at Chimes. Sarah Goodsit has a rare disorder called Prader-Willi syndrome. The part of her brain that regulates appetite is missing.
So how do you deal with somebody who feels like they're starving all the time and they don't have a normal intelligence, so they can't understand why they feel that way? All right? You need a provider.
See, your counselor at Dahab is a specifically wonderful person in your life?
Nice Rebecca.
Uh-huh. And she really helps you?
She really is a good teacher.
Uh-huh. How much do you love her? How much do you love her?
With all my heart, I trust.
You trust her. Okay. And that's the key word. Trust is the key word. We as a family could not have handled Prader-Willi this many years, and Sarah wouldn't be alive. She wouldn't be alive if it weren't for the Chimes.
Chimes is well known for its sound learning techniques and superior use of technology.
Paper, please.
You got it.
Paper, please.
For instance, many people with autism were once thought incapable of communicating. No longer.
Great. So which state is it?
Louisiana.
Nice job.
Technology often distinguishes Chimes from other providers and allows Chimes to measure progress precisely. Technology and the human touch of 3,500 professionals are perhaps Chimes' most valuable assets.
It's essential to be able to have a well-trained staff in order to deliver the quality services that is our hallmark.
And each year, Chimes continues to grow. We now own 125 homes and provide jobs for more than 2,500 people with disabilities and other barriers to employment.
Chimes is an entrepreneurial not-for-profit. Now, that's not to say that we're not grateful for the generous support of friends and family, but we believe that we must succeed on the basis of sound financial planning, solid management, and good business practices. Now, to that end, we have many contracts with organizations such as the Stadium Authority, BWI Airport, and other federal and state entities. Our employment opportunities provide real-world wages and benefits that allow people to live a quality life as members of their community.
It's a multifaceted kind of process. It provides jobs, it provides income, but most important, these programs generate substantial dollars that allows Chimes to continue to provide programs and services to other individuals who are disabled that may not be funded adequately.
Chimes has worked hard to ensure stable funding so that it doesn't need to rely on just one state or source of revenue.
Every time the state had a cold, we got the flu. And they didn't think that was in the best interest of the people we served, or the staff, or the longevity of the agency.
Chimes has also been willing to serve people with unique and severe challenges, which has provided much needed financial support.
By looking towards those with more extreme needs, we were able to get a level of funding that would allow us to achieve the kind of excellence we want to in the marketplace, and in many cases meet needs that no one else was willing to fill.
One of the most exciting new ideas in the Chimes community is an expanded autism program. As in 1947, the idea came from two parents, Barry and Renee Gordon, who wanted to create a better future for their son Alex.
We think he's a fairly happy and generally calm kid. He can't communicate verbally, so he can read to some extent, and he communicates in part by using an assistive communicative device. So he'll tap out things. He'll also communicate with us by doing grunts, or no and yes. We're astounded when we see Alex do something that's new, when we see him, for example, imitate us, which is something he's never done before and he's just started doing, when we see him point to a word that he's never pointed to before and ask for it to be pronounced. And I know that part of that, maybe a large part of that, comes from his environment at the Chimes.
In the coming years, with support from parents like the Gordons, options for children and adults with autism will grow. Take an idea, nurture it, feed it passion, and measure the results. The Chimes approach to serving people. Sometimes the ideas come from a parent, sometimes from a person being served. No matter. One day soon, you'll find yourself thinking about someone who's impressed you in these stories, and you'll realize that it's not ideas that Chimes really nurtures. Everyone who's ever been part of Chimes, they're the ones who grow. And that's the key to understanding why Chimes itself becomes stronger each year as it touches more people's lives.
My grandfather had always envisioned my mother taking care of my uncle. As my mother's health is deteriorated, I'm kind of stepping in to the role of the parent now. You know, hopefully he can find, you know, the trust and love with me that my mother, Dana, has always given him. Having Chimes as a part of our family for 3 generations now gives me a great comfort that the Chimes is going to be there.
I measure Chimes one way, and that is when I take my son back after spending the night at home on a weekend, I want to see how fast he moves towards the group home, and he always moves pretty fast.
I'm very confident in the care that Henry's getting from Chimes. If I leave this world tomorrow, he'll be well taken care of for the rest of his life. I know that. So I'm not worried about that at all.
Chimes has been steered for over 40 years by Terry Pearl, its first Chief Executive Officer. By listening and responding, Terry has made Chimes' unique synergy possible. Terry Pearl retires in January 2011 after 4 decades of service to Chimes.
Terry is more than simply the president of the agency. He's its architect.
Terry's feeling for the constituents that we serve is hard to replace. You can't go in a Chimes facility where the people don't know Terry by name.
This ability to reinvent a vision is what sets Terry Pearl apart from anybody.
Terry is the heart and soul of Chimes.
Well, it's very hard to talk about Terry without getting onto my throat. We've worked very closely for the 30-some years, and I've been a very fortunate person to have had the experience to work alongside.
Terry Pearl's influence on Chimes will be celebrated each day someone receives help from Chimes. But Terry insists that his work has really been about helping each person Chimes supports influence how he or she is served.
Not about what I want. It's about what the people we support with disabilities and their families and significant others want. Our job isn't to tell them how to live. Our job is to help them live the way they want and to provide them with the guidance and support and the tools to achieve those dreams and aspirations.
Terry Pearl and Marty Lampner, Chimes' incoming president, planted another maple tree this fall in front of the Chimes School. This tree signifies more than a new beginning. Like many of the people it serves, Chimes has learned to stand and grow on its own. With solid roots, Chimes embarks on a new adventure. There will be challenges. There will be victories. And there will always be people like Terry, Marty, and the thousands of others who are a part of the Chimes family to champion those who most need our help.